So I was minding my own business, looking at my YouTube shorts, and suddenly this was recommended to me. So we have to watch it. I know I'm a bit late. I know I'm a bit late on it. I saw it the day of, but unfortunately, I was going to get on a plane. But it's better late than never. Let's see what Mr. Braxophone is gonna talk about.
Yeah, another video like this in a row. That's crazy. You guys are about to hear something from me that I think many of you are not going to like. And I want to preface the video with this because to me, this is one of those like, oh, brace for impact moments. Like I know that there's going to be some pretty crazy response to this, but I think this is pretty big news because in today's video, I'm going to be addressing quite a few things, including how I feel about the games that I've been playing, where we are, where we're going, and contracts and more. So let's talk about it. You know, a lot of really great games have released over the past year, and even beyond that. We've had so many great games released over the past few years. Things like Clair Obscur, the Oblivion remaster, Metaphor ReFantasio, Monster Hunter Wilds, Dune Awakening. There's so many other games that have come out in that time too, and so many like fun group games, party games with friends, other single player games, and there's even more like amazing indie titles out there that are getting way less coverage.
What does this room look like?
I'm going to be real with you guys. I haven't played any of them.
Why?
Well, except for Monster Hunter Wilds, I did play that quite a bit. I enjoyed it, but I haven't played any of the new content on that.
Me too. I
like it. 1 hour into Oblivion, the remaster. I got like 45 minutes into Dune Awakening. I haven't even opened Clair Obscur. And there's so many more games.
Amazing game. He's talking about the Expedition 33, right? I've been calling it Expedition 33, by the way. Is that the same game? When he say Clair Obscur, I don't know what he's talking about. No, genuinely good game. Good story, good soundtrack, good gameplay, just a good game.
And that. And I've realized over the past little bit that I just really miss playing real games.
I love how he says real games as if gacha games are not real games.
So I begin to ask myself, why? Why am I in this position where I'm not playing these games? Why am I in this position where I feel like I can't spend the time to sit down and enjoy these games? And the answer that I came to and the conclusion that I came to is because right now I'm constantly chasing the schedule of whatever gacha game I am covering. The gacha games I'm playing, Wuthering Waves and Honkai Star Rail, and many other gacha games will release patches every 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the game. And with those patches come new characters, and my content's all centered around helping you guys understand those characters and build them to be very strong, so that way...
Okay, I stopped playing Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, and ZZZ. Right? I've played them when they first initially released, but I have not played them ever since. For Wuthering Waves, is it a new character every month or so, realistically speaking? 60 days-ish? Is there a new character every single patch? Wait, really? Yeah? Wait, unironically, yeah? For Honkai Star Rail, is it like that as well? 2 5 stars every... No, I'm talking about new characters. There's no way it's 2 5 stars every single patch, right? 2 new ones anyways. 2 new 5 stars every patch. It depends on patch, but HSR often does 2 new 5 stars. And then ZZZ. ZZZ also at least 1 5-star. Then realistically speaking, within a 6-week schedule, if you count every single game, you have like 6 new characters each patch. And if you cover content for all 3 of them, that has got to be like pretty insane, right? I can't even imagine. As a guide maker, I feel like not only do you have to make a new video on it, you also have to play test it before because you get into the beta tests, right? And I don't know what kind of contract Braxophone has, but like there has to be some like contract obligations. Maybe you have to like show up to events and stuff like that. That's crazy. They can't do everything on stream, right? So now you have to stream and record the video separately, which is like double the work, realistically speaking. Even if you offload like the editing to like an editor, it still takes time to come out. And you are doing the voiceovers yourself. I think Braxophone said that he does the math himself. So it's like triple the work. It's like back to back videos, essentially. I'm not a guide maker. I wouldn't know. I'm just guessing over here. Just based off of my observations is what it seems like. I understand why Mr. Braxophone doesn't have time to play literally anything, because literally all he plays are gacha games. All he has time for is gacha games, and I feel like it's not out of like, I want to play all these games. It's more like, I have to play all these games than the games that he really wants to play, right?
You guys don't get completely taken advantage of and wiped off the face of the planet whenever you try to complete something like Memory of Chaos. And I really enjoy educating. I don't know how many of you guys know this about me, but I'm actually a music educator, or I was a music educator. YouTube kind of took off for me when I was in my student teaching. So I got my degree in music education, and I used to teach kids during a student teaching section of my college career. But then after that, I was like, oh, I really...
By the way, I just want to say, shout out to anybody that teaches. Genuinely, you guys do not get paid enough for the shit that you have to deal with. Not only do you have to deal with the faculty, you have to deal with the parents, and you have to deal with the other teachers. On top of that, depending on what grade you teach, you have to deal with the kids. Huge shout out to all the teachers. If anybody does not understand your pain, just know that some random guy on YouTube that makes videos on 4 of the same characters in a gacha game called Genshin Impact understands your pain, okay?
I really like YouTube, and I really like teaching people through YouTube. And so I've continued to make like guide videos for you guys for a really long time. And with HSR, it's been just over 2 years, but I started in Genshin. And Genshin, you guys probably noticed, but I don't cover Genshin anymore. The reason that I don't cover Genshin anymore is because the game doesn't have anything new to offer me that makes me want to keep playing. They have a story that I think a lot of people are interested in, but for me, I can't really get behind gacha stories that are about selling the newest character. And it really feels like so many of these characters are introduced in gacha games just to be thrown away up until like a random event 3 years in the future where they come.
True. I hate it when people say that every single patch has new content. The only thing new in a patch is the story. But itspaikon, there's new characters, new weapons. That's not new content because it doesn't change the way that you play the game. It's just like adding more characters. So instead of doing Spiral Abyss with Mavuika, now you're just doing Spiral Abyss with Skirt. It's not new content per se because it's not something new for you to do. At the end of the day, you're still doing Spiral Abyss. You're still just grinding artifacts, and you're still just doing ley lines. The activities themselves are not new, which is kind of why I get pissed off when people say, how can you be bored of Genshin? Have you seen all the new content that is coming out in X.X patch? It's quite formulaic. You have new quests, new characters, new weapons, optional new map depending on which patch it is, which realistically is just a new area for you to sightsee. And that is because what you do in the new area is essentially look for chests, but the chests is the same exact chest that you open at the very beginning of the game. It contains the same content. So realistically, if you take chests out of the equation, because what do chests contain? 2 primo gems, 3 character leveling materials, 2 weapon rocks, and that's it, right? None of the chests, no chests really contain anything that is unique, right? Okay, I see where you're coming from, but doesn't it still offer at least a little bit of joy to learn to use a new character, assuming the character has a kit that isn't a total copy paste of a previous one? It is, but realistically, how long does that last? You log into the game and you play the character for a bit, which is fun. That I do agree with. Playing a character for the first time for a bit is fun for like 10 minutes. It is not long at all. Those 10 minutes, that is probably the most fun you'll have for the rest of the patch, like honestly. If you don't play the story, if you don't care for the story, because let's be honest, if I were to play a game for the story, I would play like a visual novel, right? Because it's actually a complete story, first of all. And second of all, it's probably a better story with a better plot, better world building, better side characters. Not just have some arcs where there's just random characters thrown in and then immediately never to be shown ever again until like an event comes out, right? Emily, for example, Shiori, for example, and a bunch more. With Genshin, I feel like once you get past a certain nation, Inazuma, we're probably never going back to Inazuma, which means all the characters that we've met over there are probably never going to show up ever again other than events. You have literally Archons that's probably never going to be seen ever again until maybe like Celestia, if they ever release Celestia, right?
I'm back with a couple dialogue lines, but it feels like most of these characters aren't even really a part of the world that much outside of serving the purpose of getting sales by being in the story and by fleshing out the characters. So like, I understand they build the world, but it also kind of plays into this whole idea that every single main character in a gacha game is just a self-insert. And when I think about games that I really loved, like The Witcher 3, for example, that's about a guy who has a ton of development throughout the entire series that makes him who he is, and it makes him such an interesting character.
Gacha games, I feel like, have this necessity to continuously introduce characters just because of how the game is set up, just to continuously release new characters and just to sell the characters. You cannot have a meaningful story. Like, there is just way too many characters to fit them into a meaningful story. Does that make sense? A few characters, fine. When it gets to like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, there's no way. There's no way. The story is just all over the place. At that point, you have to like cut out some characters, never show them ever again for other characters to take the spotlight, right? I feel like all the 4-star characters get that treatment, one time showing in like a single quest and never to be shown like ever again. If they're not part of like the main cast of that nation, like Lynette or like Kachina, they're probably gonna show up like once and then never again, like Hazel. I think Teppei has more screen time than Hazel, like honestly.
So much more interesting than a self-insert could ever be. So honestly, just I don't really like self-inserts, and I don't really like stories that focus on side characters more than the main character. And that's not a Genshin specific problem. That's just kind of why I'm not really interested in the Genshin story that much. And that's kind of all that's left of that game, because I've already beaten Abyss. I have all the characters that I wanted, and I'm kind of explorationed out. I'm not really too interested in chasing exploration in that game. So like, I'm kind of just done with it. And I fear that
right. Because exploration in Genshin is not exactly the most interesting thing in the world, right? I've said this before and I'll say it like a million more times. You know exactly what's going to be in a new area. Other than the new area being different visually, the content is essentially the same. What you find in the area is essentially the same. What, maybe like a new flower for the new characters that's going to be released? Some puzzle that might have a different mechanic that rewards you a common chest after you do it for 30 minutes that might or might not contain primo gems and gives you 1 book of wits. If you like sightseeing in Genshin, that's fine. But don't make it sound like there's a lot to do. Like, people always make it sound like there's a lot to do when a new area comes out, when all they do is go around collecting chests. And you can't just say I'm the only one. Mr. Braxophone here literally like basically said the same thing. Otherwise, he would have came back when the new nation comes out, right? I think Braxophone stopped making Genshin contents even before Fontaine. If the new area has so much to do, then why didn't he come back for Fontaine? Why didn't he come back for Natlan?
Chasing exploration in that game. So like, I'm kind of just done with it. And I fear that in Honkai Star Rail, I've kind of reached a similar point where off stream, I don't play that much outside of the CE server. Now, when the CE server comes, it takes up all of my free time, and I spend all of my time on the CE server testing out characters to bring you guys guide videos that I believe in and that hopefully help you guys a lot. But now,
I've said this before and I'll say it over and over again. I think Honkai Star Rail is genuinely literally the turn-based version of Genshin. And I'll say that because the activities you do is essentially the same. The main mechanic you do to advance your characters is artifact farming. No matter which game you play, it's artifact farming. Now, you have like simulated universe in Honkai Star Rail, right? So that's a different game mode, but that gets pretty monotonous pretty quick, right? It's not like something that's like refreshing or new. Like, at some points, it'll get to a point where it's like a chore to do. The best moments of Honkai Star Rail, I feel like, is pulling a character and playing that character for like the first 10 minutes or maybe even like the first day. And I feel like for guide makers, that's a bit different. They don't even get to be excited for the character to come out, I feel like, because they have to play test the character even before the character comes out. So when the character comes out and everybody's excited for it, I feel like they sort of have to go with the mood, even when they play the character literally more times in the testing phase than most people will play that character after they pull that character. When you're the content creator for multiple gacha games, I'm surprised anybody can handle it, to be honest. Even playing it casually by myself, I can barely handle a single gacha game. And I don't know if it's like exclusive to guide makers. Maybe like regular content creators do that as well, but for guide makers, for the sake of content, they basically have to play the game instead of wanting to play the game, right? So that kind of plays into it a bit as well.
Nowadays, it is very difficult for me to even write these guides. Like, I'm really struggling to sit down, test a character a bunch, and then like just write up the the video script and edit the video. And what I've kind of realized is that this isn't burnout. I mean, I've been burnt out before. I burn out over and over and over when I push content too hard, but this is just how it is. This is just gacha games. And unfortunately for me, what I fear has happened is the creator experience server coming out weeks ahead of a character's release not only takes away the hype of getting to do everything with the community when the character comes out, but it also means that I have to spend weeks ahead of the character's release prepping content, and it makes it so when the character comes out, I don't actually want to play the character. But not only that, making the guides themselves takes me like a week. And
yeah, they don't want to play the character because they already played it more times than people will ever play that character in their lifetime, like honestly speaking.
And because there's multiple characters that release some patches, and because I'm also doing Wuthering Waves, I've realized that like, I don't think I can do it anymore. I have one of the greatest jobs in the world, and I'll never take that for granted. I appreciate the hell out of you guys, and I'm so glad that I can make YouTube videos for my living. It's amazing. But I also come to realize that like any job that you really just don't like doing probably isn't worth doing unless you absolutely have to. And I know that if I put my time and efforts into either a game I'm enjoying more at a time or content that I know I'm enjoying more at the time, I'm going to make better content. And I think as long as there are people like you guys who are interested in my content, I can really find a way to make YouTube a super enjoyable and fulfilling job in basically any niche. So with that said, going forward, you guys, I'm going to be taking a temporary hiatus from Honkai Star Rail guides. And the reason is because I want to fall in love with gaming again, find my passion for gaming again, and get to play some of these amazing things that I feel like I've missed out on trying to keep up with the gacha patch cycle. I want to make better content for you guys, but I don't think I can do that anymore.
Wait, does he not make guides for Wuthering Waves? I thought Brassivum made guides for Wuthering Waves as well. Doesn't he do ZZZ as well? Looks like it's just Wuthering Waves and Honkai Star Rail, honestly. I guess I misspoke. I guess he doesn't do ZZZ
anymore on Honkai Star Rail guides, at least not right now. It's possible that maybe in the future, I will enjoy Honkai Star Rail guide making again to the extent that I did when the game first released, and I'll be able to put out those guides, but right now I'm just not feeling it. The video
I feel like Honkai Star Rail guides are like especially difficult because outside of playing the characters, there is not much to do in Honkai Star Rail, right? Because there's no exploration, realistically speaking. So all you do is just turn-based battles in different modes, like whether you're artifact grinding or relic grinding or simulated universing or spiral abyss version of Honkai Star Railing. All Honkai Star Rail has is combat, right? You do math, calculate speed, and see how to get more turns in one cycle. That's still related to combat. You're still just combating. I'd argue Honkai Star Rail has more combats than Genshin Impact, mainly because I feel like combat is all Honkai Star Rail has. I cannot imagine playtesting a character in Honkai Star Rail, and then when the character releases, you have to play more Honkai Star Rail because everyone wants to see you play that character because that character just got released in their eyes when realistically they were released like weeks ahead, right? Can you imagine being excited to pull for that character after playing it for weeks and weeks and weeks? I wouldn't even want to see that character like for the next year, honestly.
Those that I enjoyed making the most over these past few months have been the game reviews. I really enjoyed making that Duet Night Abyss video. I scripted, voiced, recorded, and played all of that Duet Night Abyss footage that you see in that entire video. It was all done by me. The Warframe video as well. I did that one entirely by myself. The Etheria Restart video, I did pass off to an editor and they did a great job, but I think that if I edited that one, I also would have enjoyed it a little bit better as well. What I really like doing is talking about games, and a lot of the time, that means I have to play the game, or I get to play the game is an even better way to look at it. For me, I'm looking forward.
But it doesn't mean he has to make guides for it. And that's, I feel like, is a big part, right? Not making a guide means you don't have to spend like that much time for a game. You can stop whenever you want. Whereas when you're making guides, you have a set of checklists. Oh, let's go over the best weapons, best artifacts, best rotations, best teammates for every single character. Whether or not you want to cover that game or not, you have to go through that checklist. That sounds really tedious to me.
There's so many games on the horizon. There's so many games I haven't played, and I really just want to reclaim gaming for myself because I haven't been able to do that since I've been kind of following this patch schedule. It has been quite exhausting for me. If you guys want the quality and the funny jokes and everything that are in my guide videos, I just can't do that stuff live. I can't make it easier for me to make that content. I've already optimized it all that I can. And it's just not what I want to do anymore. At least not right now. So what I'm going to be doing going forward.
Wait, no more Wuthering Waves guides anymore either.
Is I'm going to be making some videos about new games that are upcoming, and then once I find a game that I really enjoy, that I really want to latch onto, that I have a super big interest in, I'll probably cover that game as well. When I was streaming talking about this yesterday at twitch.tv/Brax, I did get a question in chat, and they were asking, well, won't Hoyoverse like be upset about this? Isn't this like big for Hoyoverse? So let's talk about Hoyoverse contracts and how working with these companies has been. The first thing I need to say is that the idea that I'm on some kind of contract with Hoyoverse is a huge misconception. I've never been on a long-term contract with Honkai Star Rail once, not a single time. What I do get sometimes is commission from them to make a video, and that commission, you can think of it like a sponsorship where they're like, hey, we'll pay you to make this video. But the difference with the commission is that they're not actually over my shoulder telling me what I can and can't say outside of things that are like a beta NDA, right? So like if there's a character that's not out yet, but I have access to them, I can't talk about them, right? Until the embargo's up. But in the case of where I say my opinion on a character, as long as it's not blatantly wrong, they don't care. Like if I came out and I said Acheron is actually a terrible unit when she released, they'd probably be like, you should reevaluate that. I think they would have even still let me release the video, to be honest. But I think they would have probably given me some feedback there, right? But there seems to be this huge misconception where everyone thinks I'm on some kind of HSR contract. I am not. All of my opinions on HSR have always been my own. I've always really loved HSR. I thought it was a super fun game, but times have changed, my feelings have changed, and that's all. If you're dumb enough to think that I'm lying about that, if you want to keep putting on your tinfoil hat and keep shit talking me and adding me and try to rage bait me or whatever, like, I don't care. I just assume everyone who's dumb is rage baiting anyways, because then it makes it easier to cope with the fact that people are that stupid. The fact is, for Honkai Star Rail characters, they never paid me to say that every new character was broken or anything. It's just that they did have a blatant power creep issue with the newer units coming out, and that they all were just better than the old characters. There have been a lot of changes and lack of changes to Honkai Star Rail that I don't like. I think it is ridiculous that it took them this long to make a skip button for the story, but I'm glad.
Oh, Mr. Braxophone. You want to talk about not having a skip button, Mr. Braxophone? Let's not talk about a skip button, Mr. Braxophone. I cannot believe Honkai Star Rail got a skip button after 3 years. We're on the 5th year of Genshin Impact. So you want to talk about a skip button, Mr. Braxophone? You cannot believe that it took them that long to put in a skip button. Not only have they not added it, we have people that is supporting the fact that they have not added it. People here saying, if you are skipping the story, you might as well add a skip the gameplay button, skip the combats button as well.
They added it. I think that relic presets need to be a thing. There is absolutely no excuse for there not to be some. I'm pretty sure the business reason for there not being relic presets is because they want to keep up player.
What? Wait, what are relic resets? Is it the same thing as the Genshin thing? Where you're able to redo the stats? Trade offer? Trade the skip button in Honkai Star Rail for the reroll feather in Genshin Impact. You know what? I'll trade it.
Retention, which happens when you change all of your relic sets to speed tune characters. We know what speed tuning is now. We should be able to quick swap relic sets, but they don't want us doing that, I'm pretty sure. I would love to be proven wrong, though, if they want to introduce them. The endgame content is quite stale. There's a lack of events. I mean, there are events, but there's not as many of them as there used to be. And of course, there's the power creep problem. Like, there's a lot of issues with Honkai Star Rail. I think it's still quite an enjoyable game for like a couple hundred hours, though. And that's why I've been covering it, because I really genuinely enjoyed the game.
A couple hundred hours.
I just got tired of making guide videos. There was never really a monetary incentive from the company for me to play Honkai Star Rail. I get paid like actual pennies from them by comparison to what other brands are paying me. They pay me like not even minimum wage. I think they pay me like a 15th of my rate that I get from other companies when I take sponsorships from them. And if I was just doing videos for Honkai Star Rail and I wasn't taking any sponsors at all, I wouldn't be able to afford the mortgage that I have or the rent that I had before. So I don't know. I wanted to clear that up. I don't think people are going to believe me anyways, though. So I guess it is what it is, right? The amount of money that Hoyoverse is paying me is not enough to keep me making videos. The reason I made videos is because I was going to make them anyways.
That's crazy. Listen. It's crazy to me how one of like the biggest guide makers for their games don't even get that much from the company of the said game. I feel like they don't have the need to, because I feel like the game is big enough with like the regular advertisements. They don't really need to depend on like content creators too much, which is why I feel like the rates isn't that high. They technically don't even need guide makers or any content creators to make billions a year, I feel like. I'm trying to think of a game that is really popular, like player base wise, but is not popular in terms of like videos. Like if you try to search it on YouTube, nobody knows about it, but like basically everyone plays it. Love and Deep Space. Oh, Love and Deep Space is huge in China though, right? But China has their own sort of video platform. Maybe they are popular in that video platform compared to like YouTube. I know there's like no YouTube video on lads, honestly. Maybe there's like a lot of views on like Billy or something for lads.
Paying me was a nice little bonus on the side. I think people need to, you know, go interact with a real human being every once in a while. Some of the stuff you see online is just insane, man. But I'll tell you who I do have a contract with. It's Kuro Games. Right now, I'm working with them to make some character guides. It's actually been a thing for a while. And you know what? I actually really do like working with Kuro. I think they've given me a lot of great opportunities. This whole thing about like contracts and being evil and lying to people, I don't know where it came from. I've never had a single person complain about me being on a Kuro contract, and I've talked about being on a Kuro contract, but I keep getting people complaining that I'm on the Hoyoverse contract.
But the question is, will he be making guides for Wuthering Waves if he was not on contract? I'm just saying. Because he said he stopped making content for Honkai Star Rail. He didn't say he was going to stop making content for Wuthering Waves. But now he said that he has a contract with Kuro Games to make guides for Wuthering Waves. So the question is he making guides out of obligation or out of interest? Nobody knows. Except for Mr. Brax. Here's my take. I want you guys to think this, both Twitch and you watching right now. Take the gacha out from a gacha game and implement character obtaining mechanics into the gameplay. Would that not be a better game in general? Take the gacha out from the gacha game, make it so that you get characters through quests, through exploration, weapons through quests, through exploration. Would that not be a better experience as a game? You're still collecting characters, but now you have to actually play the game. The only upside I can think of pulling characters from banners is that you can get the results instantaneously. You just get the character. You don't have to go through any sort of long quests. You're essentially just buying the character with your currency, right? No, I like gambling. I like your honesty. You know what? I like your honesty. At least you're admitting it. The only reason why it's gacha is to satisfy the gambling addiction of some people. I've seen people that actually say this, by the way. They said gacha games are not the same as casino, and companies have to make money too. That's their defense for a game being gacha. You know what's also a good way of making money? Going outside and robbing someone. You don't have to agree with it, but I will fight you if you don't agree with it. Genshin Impact and like whatever other gacha games that you consider has good aspects. Certain aspects of it is good, but overall in general, as a video game, it's bad. When you compare it to other video games on this planet, it is bad. To be fair, every free-to-play game has some sort of gambling in one way or another. Loot boxes. But the thing is, gacha games impact your gameplay the most out of any free-to-play games that has any sort of monetization. Skins does not impact your core gameplay. Your characters doesn't look as cool. Fine, whatever. Let's take a free-to-play game like Warframe, for example, right? They time gate certain aspects of the game, but that doesn't distract you from the main gameplay of the game. That doesn't stop you from farming. You know what stops me from farming? Resin. I thought about this a lot. I think this is why I don't like gacha games. Not because of gambling, not because children steal the credit cards from their parents. The parents deserve to get scammed, whatever, right? I don't give a fuck. Because of the stamina system. Stamina system prohibits you from having a satisfying gameplay session. That's my biggest issue. Think about playing any non-gacha game, right? You can play as little and as much as you want, but you are able to get to a point where you are satisfied to put down the game for the day and continue tomorrow. Genshin Impact, for example, has a stamina system, and what do you do with that stamina? You can level up your characters, level up your weapons, get your artifacts, but majority of the people will spend it on artifacts. Now, you can get maybe like 4 artifacts a day. Once you spend all your resin, even if you pay for the stamina. You spend primo gems. Whether or not you get a good artifact is completely up to RNG. And there is no way for you to get a good artifact that day if the game doesn't allow you to. Without stamina, won't it throw the multiplayer mode off balance? I'll be completely fucking honest with you. Do you really think Genshin Impact is a multiplayer game? I mean, it has multiplayer feature, which still honestly pisses me off because they never add anything that is actually good to it. The only reason why co-op feature even exists, I feel like, is to show off your character to other people. Like, you go into co-op and you show off your Mavuika. I feel like for some people, it would have like the psychological effect of like, oh, I must pull for Mavuika. Look how cool it is, right? And for e-dating. No, it's not for... Who goes on Genshin Impact to e-date? Stop. I can play Elden Ring for 1 hour, 2 hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, 24 hours, 48 hours, but I can get to a point where I'm satisfied, right? I can beat the entire game in a single day, or I have like a target goal that I can target in a single day, right? Warframe, honestly, you can do the same. Because why? Because Warframe is a multiplayer game that has a market. You can use your items, sell them to obtain currency to do other stuff, right? You can sort of bypass that sort of RNG or time gates if you are actually good at playing the markets. It's an open world story-based game. You can either pick exploring and fighting and come back just for the story. This is the official community for Genshin Impact, the latest open world action RPG from Hoyoverse. Story-based where? Action role-playing game. Story is a feature, not a defining genre. And what do you people think of when somebody says playing Genshin Impact? Can I just show you? Can I just do this? People will say that they love playing Genshin Impact. This is their definition of playing Genshin Impact. Ooh, okay. All right, time to go to Baiju. Let's play Genshin Impact. I am now playing Genshin Impact, and Chang Sheng is completely silent. Riveting gameplay.
It's absolutely beat these days.
Dialogue option. I'm not sure which one I should choose. Which one should I choose, chat? This one or this one? Let's go with this one.
Very peculiar.
Gameplay. Dialogue option. We gotta have some gameplay. Gameplay right here.
Hence my concern.
Man, I love playing Genshin Impact. I love playing Genshin Impact. I love playing. Genshin Impact. Man, I cannot wait to play more Genshin Impact tomorrow. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Oh, now we can finally play the game. Finally play the game. Take a rest in the back room of the pharmacy. Fantastic. Playing the open world action video game Genshin Impact. Honestly, I cannot think of a better gameplay than this other than like a League of Legends like World Championship or something like that. This is what people look like when they say they play the game for the story. Visually taking information in with your eyes without moving. Man, if there was only a word for that. I don't know. Maybe like the same thing you do with a book. Wait, gameplay. Ooh, Paimon, ... I need you to check if there's a cut on my back. Riveting gameplay. Click to continue. Riveting. Do you see what I just did? Did you see what I just did? Interactive gameplay. Which one should I choose, chat? Which one should I choose? Maybe the option I choose will have an impact of the next dialogue. What if Paimon dies at the end if I choose wrong? I've never done this, but what if I Alt F4, like my game just pretend my game crashes? Legitimately, my game just crashes out of nowhere. Maybe it's like a software issue. My game just crashes. Why have a skip button in a story-based game? You can quit. Just stop playing the game. You're so right. You are so correct. Just uninstall the game. The only reasonable argument that I have from people on why they play gacha games, other than having a gambling addiction, is because they have no other choice. Because of the platform that they play on, because of their available resources, it's their only option. I have no problem with people saying that. I have absolutely no problem with it. You only have a phone to play games and Genshin is your best option. You can say that.
So I don't really know what's up with that. But anyways, I guess the reason I mentioned the Kuro thing is because I am going to continue to make Wuthering Waves guides, basically until that contract's up, and then I'll decide what I want to do from there. It's not just a Honkai Star Rail issue. I actually just think I've gotten bored of making guides in general, and I would like to make some other content. I would like to talk about some other games as well.
Oh, how about 4 characters with Mr. Paikon over here?
But with that said, we'll see what happens, because I have been enjoying playing Wuthering Waves quite a bit more recently. Actually, basically just since 2.0, I've been enjoying Wuthering Waves like a heck of a lot more than I enjoyed at launch. But either way, I just don't really want that to be all of my content. I really had such an awakening with the Duet Night Abyss video, the Warframe video, the Ethereal Restart video, where I'm like, I just like talking about games. I just really want to talk about them. I want to play them, and I want to bring you guys like game news and stuff too. So that's the direction we're going. And honestly, I'm a little bummed I couldn't make this video more entertaining. I've thought about like a bunch of ways, like how do I break the news to them and make it more interesting so that way it ends on a happy note. But realistically, guys, I think it is only a happy note if you guys are here for me and not just for my HSR guide videos. So for some of us, this is going to be goodbye, and I acknowledge that, and I recognize that, and I appreciate every single one of you guys who stuck with me through all of my guide videos, whether it was Genshin, whether it was HSR, whether it was Wuthering Waves. But going forward, I just really need to reclaim this for myself so that way I can be happier and make even better videos. Because at the end of the day, I want to talk about what I want to talk about, but it makes me the most happy to be able to make a really good video on it. Does that mean I'm quitting Gacha forever? No. I mean, the thing is, even though Gacha games can get stale after a while, I really am looking forward to Arknight's Enfield. That game plays differently from any of the other Gachas we have right now. And what you guys need to understand is at the end of the day, Gacha is a monetization method that affects gameplay. But if a game is just good and interesting and worth putting a couple 100 hours into, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna enjoy every second that I can get out of those games. And when I stop enjoying them, maybe it's time to play something else, you know? But I'll be covering Arknight's Enfield most likely, assuming that game didn't change drastically from the last beta. And I'm also looking forward to Blue Protocol Star Resonance, despite all of the issues that it looks like that game is going to have. Either way, if you guys are here just for HSR guides, and I'm not going to see you anymore until I come back to HSR and doing guides, then thank you so much for everything, and I will see you guys later. But if you guys are here for this next chapter, where we switch up what we're doing a little bit, I look forward to seeing you all on the other side. If you guys have any awesome games that you think are like lesser known, more niche, or you think need the attention of a bigger YouTube channel, let me know in the comments. I really want to, I want to know what's worth my time playing. I'm going to catch up on my list that I have right now, but you know, I'd love to make a video on Wizardry Variants Daphne, or even Rememento White Shadow. So thank you guys again. I appreciate the heck out of you. I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully it'll be a lot more fun.
Let me leave a game suggestion to Mr. Braxophone over here. Please react to my favorite game, Love and Deep Space, especially Xavier. Please check out his trailer and his I can barely play Genshin Impact as my sole gacha game. I don't know how people play like 8 gacha games unless you have no other option, you know. Mobile device is your only device. The only games that you can really play that's really good, that's really outstanding, I feel like, in terms of like gameplay and visuals, are only like a handful of games, right? Like Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail. Like, again, I like to reiterate, like, there's people out there that literally says that, well, Genshin Impact is a story-based game. If you're playing for the combat, you're playing for the wrong reason. You are saying the action parts of an action RPG is the most boring parts. Wouldn't that be an issue, honestly? I feel like there's a word for it. Like, you only look at the pros. People understand their cons, but I feel like the cons does not apply to them, so they're not cons, is what I have issues with, I feel like. What is the word? There has got to be a word for that. Because it doesn't apply to me, it doesn't exist. It's fine if you don't care about it, but you act like everyone else shouldn't care about it either. Can we just make a word for it if it doesn't exist? Can we just say like Hoyo-versing? Like, is that it? Hoyo-versing the game? If you say the combat sucks, they will say that it's a story-based game and the combat doesn't matter. And if you're playing for the combat, you're playing the game wrong and you should not play the game. All right, ChatGPT time. Privileged, complacent, insensitive, ignorant. I love privileged over here, by the way. I think it's an ironically willfully ignorance. Understanding the fact that they exist, but you are willfully ignoring them. It's not just ignorant. Ignorance implies that they do not completely understand the picture. Willfully ignorance is when a person deliberately avoids learning or acknowledging information that would challenge their beliefs, comfort, or self-interest. I guess a huge part of the fan base is willfully ignorant. Isn't this the same term they use for flat earthers? Genshin Impact's players are flat earthers. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.